Hi everyone, I hope you're having a great day. Today we are going to talk about pedaling. We're going to discuss do's and don'ts, what are the common mistakes that I see, and how to actually pedal accurately. So firstly, let's talk about why do I actually need to pedal. And by pedaling, I mean using the right pedal. Well, it is a sustained pedal, so as you probably know, in piano, length of a note is relatively short. So for phrasing and for fluency and continuity of each line, it's really good to use the pedal because it brings out that richness and vibrancy of sound. It makes our phrasing much more shaped and prolonged, and it just makes the music sound much nicer. So usually I would introduce pedaling to my students after about 1 or 1.5 years of practicing the piano. So if you are at an intermediate level, you probably are already using it, and you probably know that in most cases we use the right pedal. The left pedal and the middle pedal we only ever use in very, very advanced pieces, so something past grade 8 in the UK or advanced level, conservatoire level, and we can talk about that in a different video. So firstly, let's talk about the common mistakes that I observe whilst examining or seeing students, potential students for lessons. So the first and most common thing is synchronization with your hands. How do you actually synchronize? Do you press at the same time that your hands go down, or how does it actually work? And what I would usually say to my students is that you first practice pedaling on totally random notes. So don't worry about your pieces, don't worry about actually playing what you're currently working on, because your brain will be then occupied thinking about those pieces and not really thinking about pedaling, maybe more concerned about notes and rhythms. So we want to just avoid that area and focus entirely on pedaling. So why don't you use something like a C major scale or any kind of random notes, but both hands together, because it creates this kind of triangle, right, left hand and the foot. And again, for our brain, it needs a little practice to get this going. So the most common detail that I would like you to note is that when your hands are pressing or your fingers are pressing the keys, at this point your foot is not going down the same as your fingers, but it's actually going up and then quickly down. So the synchronization is going kind of opposite directions. Now, why is this so crucial and so important? Is because if you do it at the same time, so down and down, your foot is going down, your hands are going down. Remember, you have to continuously pedal. So if you keep doing that, firstly, you will have gaps between the phrases. It will not actually be very continuous and very sustained. And two, which is probably the biggest problem, it creates clashes because it will catch some harmonies from the previous bar, and your texture will never be very clear and very kind of transparent. Have you heard people pedal and it sounds very, very blurry? That's precisely because they do this kind of technique, synchronizing hands and foot, pressing down at the same time. So please know this, and also it's not something that if you're already doing this, that's great, really, really well done. But if you're not used to it, you will need to apportion some time for this process to kick in, because again, it's all controlled by our brain, so it's not something that you will be able to implement straight through. It will need a little effort, a little time, a bit like riding a bike, before it becomes like a complete automated process. You don't even have to think about it. Your brain does that. But at first you might feel a little uncomfortable doing so. Just remember, when you're pressing the keys down, your foot goes up and then down. And that is the most important detail in the pedaling technique. Now, saying that, we do have a direct pedaling technique as well, but we use it more rarely, I would say, and only on specific chords, let's say, to give them a bit more vibrancy or something. Have you ever played a piece where maybe it's a staccato chord, but you still want it to sound really rich and vibrant? Well, this is where you will use direct pedal, and that's basically your foot and your hands pressing the key, going down at the same time. But it's usually on very short stretches of music, and just like I said, different purpose. So just for that richness, vibrancy, of sound and not really continuity. So the first technique is most important, is most popular, and is something that you really need to master and get this clear. Now we're going to talk about how to actually press the pedal with your foot. And I will start by describing the most common mistake that I see all the time, either examining or interviewing potential students. And this is where your heel is not on the floor, is kind of going up and down as you're pressing on the pedal. And please stay tuned until the end of this video, because I'm going to demonstrate do's and don'ts. As I know the visual kind of aspect always works, and I think you will be able to remember and implement this straight away. So please keep your heel on the floor at all times, so you are pressing the pedal like so and not like so. And this is something that I see over and over and over, and this is really wrong. Please don't do that. Second common mistake is that the bars that you pedal, you bring your foot on and then you kind of take your foot off. Even if you have only one, and in fact there are quite a few pieces where you have the pedal marking just maybe at the very end of the piece, you have to keep your foot on from the very beginning of the piece until the end, where you then press at the end in that last bar. It's not okay to have it off completely and then in the middle of the piece you're kind of realizing, oh, I need to pedal, so let me bring my foot on. It really creates that distraction, and again, it's just not something that you should do. So please remember, foot always on, but obviously stays off the pedal, but on the pedal in the sense that your foot is not far away, and then you just have to pedal whenever you are planning to, really. And that just creates very kind of seamless approach, which is what we try and always achieve. And then secondly, your heel should be on the floor. Thirdly, it doesn't happen very often, but still I see it sometimes. Either you're pedaling too deep or very on the edge. That's probably also something that you need to try and avoid. Try and pedal right in the middle of the pedal. And now let's have a look at my visual guide of on how to do it and how not to do it. And I really hope you enjoyed this video. I really hope it's useful. And yeah, see you in the next clip. Have a good day, everyone.